She hated the leaking. In the middle of what tasted like an unending drought, she tipped over. Tears fell out. And they didn't yield to her spell. The power stories independent women try to tell themselves. The truth is, she needed help because the drops came anyway. Despite hiding or denying their place, sometimes they drenched like tidal waves, sweeping from within. And sometimes they came like a slow song dancing down her face, leaving behind the faintest trace of lingering aches of pain. Grace. Sometimes the rain just has to have its way. Whether right or wrong, emerges as if it belongs to the aches and the pleas. Will put a sister on her knees, have her saying things like, heal me, please, crack me open, pull me out. If me broken, lay me down, plant me seed, give me hope, let me breathe, watch me grow, water me, speak me bold. And one day soon, you'll see me. You'll see me whole. This is when I stopped running away from all the things that I thought made me weak, and I started to embrace my softness as a woman, my softness, my strength as a woman, which is different from a man's strength, and that difference is good. And I learned this the hard way. If you don't let the pain out freely with tears and honest conversations and music and dance and poetry and prayers and scriptures and counseling and confessions and art, if you don't let the pain out freely, then emotional constipation will set in, and that will make you sick, because this body, this soul was not designed to carry pain for an entire lifetime. Don't be afraid to cry. Be afraid to hide. Be afraid to hide from pain. Be afraid to hide inside of the baggage of yesterday. Be afraid of that, but the tears, don't be afraid. Let them flow, and then let them go away from you so the healing can break through. Amen. Dear God, recover my stuff from my enemies. Send my enemies back to the place they came from. Set me free from secret attacks, from shattered dreams, from everything trying to limit me. In Jesus' name, amen. Psalms 56, verse 8 through 11. I'm in the New King James Version. You number my wanderings. Put my tears into your bottle. Are they not in your book? When I cry out to you, then my enemies will turn back. This I know, because God is for me. In God, I will praise His word. In the Lord, I will praise His word. In God, I put my trust. I will not be afraid. What can man do to me? Record my misery. You know, misery at the root, in the Hebrew, that word means lament, wanderings, and homelessness. You know, lamenting is weeping and wailing. Weeping is shedding tears, but wailing is crying from grief, from anger, from rage, crying from pain. It's a prolonged, high-pitched sound. Wailing pierces through the atmosphere. That kind of pain stops everything for a minute. It's a different type of tears. I've cried tears like that. Record my tears. Record every cry from every pain. Record every cry from every grief. Record every cry from every anger. Every moment of anger. This is what I liked about David. He was so raw and honest. He talked to God. He prayed to God, and he worshiped God from a real place. He took his pain to God. He prayed. He would begin by just laying all of his pain on the table before God. And you know what I learned? When I do that, it's like it's purging the bitterness right out of me. It's like it doesn't even give bitterness a chance to come to hold on to me, to own me. When I take all that pain and all that grief and all that rage and all that anger and I put it out before God, I talk it out with God, it protects me, my soul, my heart. It keeps it soft. It doesn't let the bitterness in. So then, because of the root meanings of record and misery, we can say, Father, record my misery, record my lament, my weeping, my tears, record my wailing, record the tears I cry from pain, the tears I cry from grief, the tears I cry from anger. Record the tears that feel like they will never stop falling. Record the tears that feel like they're gonna kill me. Record them all. Record my homelessness, every moment that I did not have a place to rest. Record my wanderings, every place I have been and everything I have been to. Pay attention to all this pain. Number all the tears. But he doesn't stop in the pain. He says, then my enemies will turn back when I call for help. By this, I will know that God is for me. This type of prayer and worship, it shows the intimacy of his relationship. When I pray like this, it shows the intimacy of mine. When I wrote Wake Me poetry, that's what it was. It was my pain. It was the tears and all the pain behind all the tears just presented before God. Because even before I had the healing, I knew I would have the healing. Because God is going to show up for me. And then my enemies will turn back when I call for help. By this I know that God is for me. When I call for help, when I make a request of Yahweh by name, and when I worship, right, Yahweh, and praise the excellence of Yahweh, when I worship him, when I honor him for who he is, when I praise him, when I honor him for what he has done, it causes my enemies to run. See, because when you call him, you enter into the presence and he moves on your behalf. And your true enemy knows the power of God. The problem is when we don't know it. And when we don't know the power of God, then we don't use it. And when we don't use it, we use a fake power, and then we lose a real battle. And I don't have time for that anymore. When I call for help, my enemies will turn back. And as my enemies turn back, and as I call for help, I know that God is for me. You know, no in this situation means to know, to recognize, to understand. It could be as simple as I've acquired new information about God. I intimately understand that God is for me. I get it. It's in my soul. It's in my heart. It's not just something I'm saying. It's something I'm living. I know it. I feel it. I trust it. I fight with it, and I rest in this knowledge. Even though I've suffered losses in the past, today you restore me. Thank you for that. You cause my enemies to turn back and leave me in peace. I know intimately that when I call on you by name, when I call on God, when I call on Yahweh, when I call on Elohim, the great one, the great power, the judge, the mighty one, when I call on God to ask for help, you will come for me. And it will cause my enemies to leave, to run from me. So Father, help me, Yahweh. Help me, Father, to live in the truth of this word. In God whose word I praise, and I praise what the mighty one says. I praise what God does. Because the word of God is an event. The word of God is spoken. And when you speak it, it can create an event in your life. And this is what gets me. So a situation comes to attack me, to handle me, but the situation's attack is not the final thing. The word of God is the final thing for me, right? I speak his word goes out, and his word fights for me, and his word becomes the event of my life. Like the word of he's my strong tower. That becomes my life. That's the event. The strong tower shows up and stands between me and my problem, shelters me, blocks for me, covers me. If the word is that powerful, this is what I discovered. I need to read more of it, know more of it, consume more of it, dig into more of it. If the word can do things, can make an event in my life, can change the course of an event in my situation, then I gotta have that word. I praise what God is. And I praise what God does. And I praise what God says. So in God whose word I praise. That's what he's saying. I'm praising what he says, what he is, what he does. Right? Because this is where my trust is. That's the place I'm coming from. In God I trust. In God I trust. I rely on God. I put my confidence in God. My faith, that's on God. I give him my secrets and my full trust that he knows exactly what to do with them. To be blessed. To be blessed is to be endowed with two things: divine favor or divine protection. So when you're endowed, it was given to you, it was placed on you, it was gifted to you. So when the Bible says, I am blessed, it's saying I am blessed with God's divine favor. And I am blessed with God's divine protection. I am protected and loved by God. I am embracing His blessings for me. I am guarded in ways that I cannot see. I am protected, and the works of my hands are blessing me, and the works of my hands are blessing the people assigned to me, blessing the people that support and help me. I am blessed. I am covered, and I am ready for this day. That's who I